Hi, was I supposed to start on the 1 or the
We're-
3?
The one, but we're here. We're
We're
live.
here. Yeah.
What's up, Kingdom of Rock? This is Matt Gibson, and we are live here on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all the internet. And I'm here with my co-host, Michael Molenda, and our two amazing guests, Beth-Ami Heavenstone and Tomi-Rae Brown. How are you guys doing today?
Well, Bethany, you go first.
I'm fantastic. I had a little wee drinky right before this started.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties.
Well, you know me, I'm a lightweight. I had a couple of sips of, because, I get nervous. You know how I am. So I had a little, but I'm good.
What was it, a weed drink?
Well, put it this way. Look how much is left. I barely, I'm such a lightweight. I had like 3 sips and I'm like, where's my lampshade?
Yeah, I can't even smoke weed in this country, so I don't even have a lampshade.
We're off to a good start here.
So, Mike, how are you? How's Mike doing today?
I'm a little bit scared about this show right now.
Hey, I knew it was going to be wild because Tomi-Rae and Beth-Ami have known each other for quite a long time.
Yeah, that's my son.
It should be fun then. I mean, I'm an old guy. Nothing shocks me anymore. So go for it, girls.
Okay. We got stories.
I'm sure you do.
Oh, we got history, honey.
Well, we'll get to that in just one second. But everybody knows we're in a global pandemic crisis, and we've been talking about this for weeks, and nobody wants to really even talk about that anymore. But
it's important to talk about.
It is important to talk about. And, lots of people are struggling out there, and times are tough. So here we are. We've got some amazing musicians here on the show today. And let me start by having you guys tell a little bit about your musical story. And I'm going to start with Beth-Ami.
Okay.
Why don't you tell the Kingdom of Rock a little bit about how you got into music and kind of where you ended up?
Okay, well, my musical story starts with Tomi-Rae, actually.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I
was going to college in New York City where I was studying Japanese language as well as French and Chinese. And I had gone as far as I could with Japanese, and I was going to transfer to UCLA because they have an Asian Studies program. So I had moved to Los Angeles, and I needed 6 months to establish residency. And during that 6-month period, I met that girl. And
oh, nice.
It changed everything. It changed everything. It literally did. First of all, I lied. I said, oh, yeah, I got all the stage experience. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. She knew it, too. She farmed me out to another band called Bootleg, which was an offshoot of our band called Hardly Dangerous.
Such a liar. Such a liar she was.
I was. And I'm not. But I was so enamored with her when I met her. I met her because my boyfriend had a roommate, a woman called Terry, and Terry was good friends with Tommy and Athena. And one night I heard this ruckus going on, and I cracked the door, and I saw these women, and I'd never experienced such camaraderie before. Watching the way these women interacted, I was absolutely fascinated by them. They were so like bombastic and dynamic, and I just wanted to know them. So the next morning, they're like naked on the couch, hungover, and I didn't get to meet them, and I'd never experienced anybody like them. I was completely enthralled. I had, a tiny bit of experience playing bass guitar because I had a boyfriend that he's actually the bass player in Faster Pussycat now. Danny.
She had like Gibson Thunderbirds, and she had like real basses.
Non-reverse Thunderbird that Danny left with me because he'd been living off me for 2 years. I love Danny dearly. We're still friends when I run into him. And he wasn't the bass player in the Faster Pussycat. It was a kid from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Anyway, he met Tomi through me, come to think of it. Anywho, I digress. So I moved to Los Angeles, and Tomi was a teenager when I met her. She had chicken pox. Do you remember that?
Oh, I knew. It was on my birthday. I had chicken pox. I didn't know what it was. It was just these things, boils from my skin.
My ex-husband just had chicken pox in his mid-50s.
Yes.
Man.
So I met Tomi-Rae, and I was going to be starting school in 6 months, but I'm like, what am I going to do in the meantime? So I told her I was the bass player. She farmed me out to this band Bootleg. I think I had a hand in getting them a development deal with, what label was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember the label, but actually it was quite a big label. It was actually, I think, like a subsidiary of, say, Warner Brothers, but it was the equivalent of. And
so I get this deal, or I helped get this deal because, well, it certainly wasn't my bass playing, put it that way. And they canned me, and I was after 6 months, and I was supposed to start school, and Tomi took me, her arm around me, and she said, now you're ready to be in Hardly Dangerous. And so I started playing with Tomi, and I had literally the two best years of my entire life. Now, I've had great experiences. I've given birth, but the two best years of my life were when I played in Hardly Dangerous. I had so much fun, I got shingles. I mean, it was crazy. It was insane. And
it was. I got rid of the shingles, by the way. I did.
Yeah, Tomi would have to help me because I really want to tell the story about the open festering wound. Tomi would have to clean my wounds every day for me.
Just call me Uncle Fester. It's good. It's good. But I'll tell you what, I had the sexiest patient ever.
Yeah.
She was in pain, but with such valor and such strength. I put her on the front lines any day. I've never
felt pain like that in my life. But anyway, so Tomi knew I would, BS. She farmed me out to this band. I started to learn how to play, and I picked it up quickly. For one thing, I'm left-handed, and I play righty because that's what Danny left me, a righty bass. Right. So there's a modicum of a bit, inherent ability.
Did you flip it and reverse the strings, or you just taught yourself?
Ambidextrous.
You just did it. You just did it, and it was great.
Got on stage, and I remember my first show was at the Whiskey with Bootleg, and I was so nervous, and I started to walk down the steps to go on stage because you go from upstairs to downstairs, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And Leona's behind me with her guitar, with her head stuck on my back, literally propelling me down the stairs going, oh, you're going to do it. And I walked on stage, and it was a packed house because we played with, I think, Jailhouse. You remember that band?
Yep, I do. And Leona is such a champion because she was always so supportive of you.
Yeah, she was the only one I liked in the band because Susie and Claudia were mean to me. Although Susie and I are broken again. We're all good. We buried that.
It's all good. But I'll tell you what, that she is Leona X in Las Vegas.
Musician.
She's amazing.
Amazing. She played dumb like crazy as a kid because she was really young. Yeah. She's so smart.
She's not dumb. Yeah, not dumb.
Beautiful, and she can play the shit out of that guitar. She's great. Check her out, Leona X. She's really good.
She's slaying Las Vegas right now.
She's great. But anyway, so I walked out on stage, and I swear it was like in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy opens the door after the tornado and everything's in color. I'm like, fuck college. I never went back to school. That was it.
No, she became my best friend.
Yeah, Tomi and I lived together. It was. We gotta write a book one day. We really do. It was
maybe this is the beginning of that.
Yes,
we can get it. You get it transcribed. The story.
Yeah, so I got kicked out of Bootleg, and then I joined forces with Hardly Dangerous. We had a couple development deals, one with Interscope, and then one with the fledgling Maverick. We were the first band signed to Maverick.
With Madonna, yeah. And do you remember, Beth-Ami, that I was the one that was initiated to ask Madonna for money every month? Do you remember? You're like, you do it. So I had to actually go in and ask for $500 a week for the band to have while we were, because they paid us to write these songs. You remember?
They paid for our rehearsals, and they paid us to.
Yeah.
Great. And I couldn't care less. Whatever happened,
they said yes. They said yes. That's what happened. They said yes, and we got the money, and then it was between Alicia Keys, and at that point we had Alicia Keys, and
it was Candle. Who wrote for us? It was Diane.
No. Diane Warren for that song, but music was changing. We were writing our own songs.
Popping out of the womb about then. Are you kidding me? That girl's young. That wasn't her. It had to be somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but it was between they signed Candlebox and like Alanis Morissette or something.
Yeah, and Alanis Morissette, and it was between us and Alanis, and they chose Alanis, and it was because it was going through that Hollywood where Poison and Guns N' Roses and all these bands were being signed, and we were.
Anybody.
It changed to this. Fuck off. Go ahead, Beth.
Right. Like a good deal, if you know what I mean. Like,
she's so much better lighting than me. I mean, okay, go ahead.
You have the silent movie star soft lighting. It's fine.
Yeah,
I have a better mic. She has better sound and look, and I have better mic.
But so anyway, long story short, we put our heart and souls into that band. We really did, and we were good. And if you get a chance to, don't buy it. Because don't buy it because we don't get it. We don't profit from the sales of hardly. Hey man, get in touch with me. I'll please send you MP3s.
What record is it? What's it called?
It was never released, but
it was called Hardly Dangerous, Dangerously Hard.
Yeah, we were really a bunch of great, happy, fun girls that could play some decent music. The songs, okay, I hesitate to say this. The songs.
We were a street fighting band. That's what we were.
We were tough little cookies. Well, actually, two of us were, as Tommy affectionately called us, two live Jews. The rhythm section. Demographically, Sherry and I were very similar. Nice Jewish girls, you know. She was graduating.
The Zygazont, all of that. All respect.
And then there was me. And then there was Tommy and Voldemort. I never say our guitar player's name because I don't like her. I'm not in touch with her anymore.
No,
so I call
Voldemort.
We don't even need to talk about it, but you know how
let's not do it. Yeah.
We fell out. So Voldemort and Tommy had a completely different lifestyle than Sherry and I. And it was crazy, but we came together and it just gelled. I mean, it was magic. It really was.
It was like Motley Crue. I'll tell you what. I mean, there was a point. I mean, believe it or not, this band, one of our first drummers was Athena Bass, who is Tommy Lee's little sister. And I remember being at Athena's table. And this is right after Motley Crue got signed, and our band started getting together. Like a couple of years after they got signed, and we got together. And Athena's mother, Beulah Bass, her name is Beulah. You say you can hang out with that Tomi-Rae. It's going to be a lot of trouble for you. and you remind me of a Tommy and a Nikki. I mean, you cannot. And she was absolutely right. But me and Athena were road dogs till the end. We were so tight. But I came to find out that Beth-Ami is always been my long time, forever time, until the end of time, best friend in my lifetime.
Tommy's like my daughter, because Tommy's significantly younger than I am. I'm not going to tell how old I am, but it's, you know, Methuselah and I, used to hang out back in the day. Anyway, I mean, like I said, she was a teenager when I met her. She touched a part of me. Now, granted, I'm codependent. I have a tendency to mother everybody, but she touched a part of me that I just wanted to always take care of her. And for 30 years, she's more like a sister, but I'm the big sister. We've been through everything. When things, after James died, she stayed with Athena briefly, and then she stayed with me.
Beth-Ami was, by the way, Beth-Ami was the maid of honor at my wedding with James Brown. So, and James loved.
So nobody knows you're James's widow.
Yeah, I know that. What? Nobody knows?
Well, only in the picture. Only in the picture. We're going to tell that story here in a second.
Oh, well, I'm not meaning to jump ahead. I'm just saying that Beth-Ami has been my most loyal friend in my lifetime.
Like this. That's my girl. That's my sister right there. I mean, I have a biological sister, but we're not close. Tommy's my sister.
I met her once, but all the good she did for me was get me the lawyers that won my case.
That was my parents. That was my parents, not my sister, by the way. Wait, never mind. Right. What do you think of it? No. So musically, that's how it started. And then I got married and I had kids, blah, blah, blah. And about
They're awesome kids.
Great. About 8 years ago, I got a message on LinkedIn from Graham Bonnet, and I'm like, I know that.
From Alcatraz.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm like, I know that, but I didn't know who Alcatraz was. I knew him from Rainbow, but that's all I knew. I didn't know about Michael Schenker Group, nothing. I'm like, why do I know that name? And he was very affable. He's a jolly man. And we started having these email exchanges, and I liked him so much straight away. He's a really warm person. He's a lovely guy. He said,
since you been gone, all my heart can't take it.
You never need to hear that again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That was actually pretty good.
oh, she's amazing.
I could hear that. I could hear the Graham in the singing.
Graham, didn't you? Didn't we
Yeah.
do a show with you once?
Go ahead, Beth. I'm sorry. I digress.
But you
Something about
digress.
that name makes me finicky.
So anyway, so he said, I'm always looking for new bands to work with. I said, oh, maybe he's producing now. And so I sent him links to Hardly Dangerous, as well as I was playing in a cover band called the Alternatives. We didn't play out. We only did 2 shows out, but we recorded for placement purposes because our singer had a placement agent. Anyway, so she was the Have to Believe We're Magic girl for Macy's. She did great. Susan, she's awesome.
Amazing. It's really, really wonderful. Yes.
So we started talking, going back and forth. And in one email, I said, it's really difficult for me. I'm a single mom. I've got special needs children. And he wrote back and said, I have an autistic son too. And I said, oh.
Mm-hmm.
So we shifted to autism for a period of time. Then we physically met. We went, I drove to where he is. He's epileptic. He doesn't drive. I drove up to Santa Clarita and I had a coffee with him. And, oh, there you know, hi, puppy. Hi, puppy.
Yeah, he doesn't drive, by the way. She's saying hello to her animals, but yeah, no, he definitely does not drive. Okay. Hi, Puppy.
So, yeah, I know, shiny object. So anyway, friends, and then a few months later, I asked him to come. Tommy and I were doing a show with Whiskey. I said, why don't you sit in with us? And he came up and he did, we did No Matter What by Badfinger, and it was a Beatles song. What was it?
It was the Beatles song.
Oh, Darling.
Oh, darling. Oh, darling. Please believe me. That's the one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it was a fun night. Now, at that time, we weren't actively playing often, Tommy and I. We would just do reunion shows periodically because she had left to join James Brown. She was a featured performer with James for all those years prior to him passing. And, you know, so we had different things going on. But this was a reunion show, and I'm going to kill my dog. Get off the couch. I got off stage that night, and Graham was waiting for me at the top of the steps. And he went, oh my God, that was so much fun. I want to be in a band with you. You have such passion. I love playing with you. And I said, oh, okay, great. Because meanwhile, I'm just a mom. My job was being mom.
But look at those.
So anyway,
Mike, I think we were losing control of this interview. Can you help me a little bit?
I've given it up. You just got to ride the wave.
Was it this?
About 3 weeks later.
No, I'm kidding.
That doesn't bother us at all.
Okay. Just making sure.
Oh yeah.
I get a call from
I love you.
That reminded me of.
Okay, I quit my band. Let's do
Okay, wait, Graham. So you get the call from Graham.
He's like, I quit Alcatraz. Let's do this. And Alcatraz at that point was a very talented guy, Howie Simon. Do you know him? He's a guitar player.
Yeah.
Really, Graham and Howie and a guy named Tim Luce was the bass player. Very talented guys. But they weren't producing anything. They weren't putting out any new music, and it was really frustrating for Graham. So when he met me, it wasn't about my ability as a musician at all. It really was about my passion. He had a crush on me, and I knew it. And I wasn't interested. I did not want to date another musician after Steve. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. After Steve, what is there? I mean, after James Brown, what is there? I mean, really.
Well, I mean, it just wasn't that, you know, I'd had that experience and I wasn't looking to have it again. I was looking for a normie. First of all, my marriage had just failed. And I really wasn't looking for anything. I still don't ever want to get married again. But anyway, Graham said, I quit my band. Let's get to work. And I said, oh, okay. He kind of trapped me. I had to. And you know what? I had so much fun. I really loved it. It was so, what's the word I want? Magical, for lack of a better term, to have somebody of his caliber see me as a viable musician. He saw something in me. He believed in me as a musician, because it doesn't matter how much, he thought I was, he wanted to.
And that doesn't matter. You are a talented musician.
He wouldn't risk his career on that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And he took me under his wing, and I got so much better with Graham. Graham's a great bass player, and I learned a lot from him.
Absolutely.
And you've taken bass lessons from a lot of the greats too, right?
I got a bass lesson from John Entwistle, from Chris Squire, from Lemmy.
Chris Squire, from Lemmy. That's right. I remember those.
I benefited the most from a guy called Paul Ill, who is probably the closest thing to my brother in Los Angeles. We're still
I love Paul Ill. Paul Ill's amazing. Yes.
Played with so many people. He was the musical director for Linda Perry. He's played with Pink. He's played with Courtney Love. He's an amazing bass player, and he's like me.
And not to mention, Paul Ill, Beth-Ami, if you remember correctly, was a super fan of Hardly Dangerous as well, and was with us all of the time. Paul Ill,
he plays
amazing.
Yeah, Paul's my bestie. He's my guy.
I love Paul. I love Paul. I love him. No one wears bell bottoms better.
Like John and Chris and Lemmy, they liked me as a person, and they were happy to take me under their wing. But there was ulterior motives,
Yeah, that happens a lot in the industry.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What ulterior motives could there be?
I don't know. I'll tell you what.
They treated me very respectfully. All three of them.
Absolutely.
They were all.
I'll tell you what.
Oh my God, I love Lemmy.
Lemmy called one day while Beth-Ami and I were roommates for a time, and he was doing the Grammys, and I was quite surprised because I was kind of like doing Lemmy, but he called her and asked her to do the Grammys with him, and I was like, well, why is he asking you? I mean, but he literally took Beth-Ami to the Grammys
in New York. And I had the best time with him, and he was always the consummate gentleman. Lemmy was
such a gentleman.
So not what you would think. He really was. He's such
I've heard a lot of things about Lemmy like that he's just a super sweet guy.
Amazing human. Amazing human.
I mean, I could find adjectives out the wazoo to describe Lemmy. He was lovely, and I the day I found out he passed, I cried my eyes out.
Yeah.
I know. Beth-Ami, do you remember when you were getting ready to go to the Grammys, when he called you that afternoon, and you're like, Thomas, I'm going to the Grammys. What am I going to wear? And do you remember we went through the black dress and do pearls, or do I not do pearls? You looked amazing on the Grammys.
Yeah.
And
Motorhead was the first category, heavy metal category that year.
That's right. Absolutely.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, so
Beth-Ami was his date.
That's me next to Lemmy. He was so sweet.
Were you on this? Did you get on the stage for that one?
No.
I think did they pan to you when they did the announcement?
They did pan to her.
I think I remember that. I think I remember seeing you with Lemmy, in my brain.
And she looked beautiful. She had her pearls.
I wore my mother's shoes because I wasn't expecting this. I was in New York when I was on the phone with Lemmy. He said, please come with me. And I'm like, okay. But I didn't have the clothes. I wasn't prepared for that. So I wore my mother's dress and her shoes.
She looked beautiful. She looked dazzling and amazing. She was everything that Lemmy wanted her to be. And that was an absolute representative of beauty. And she was. And I was so proud of her. Well, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a fun night. I had so much fun. Oh my God. Oh, shoot. Hang on. Who is it? Oh, it's John.
Somebody's calling you.
Hang on. It's Tempesta.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, it's Tempesta.
John
she
Tempesta.
always stops whenever Johnny Tempesta calls. It's like all of it's like cut.
In the middle of this podcast, come over. Luna's having a good time.
Tomi-Rae, why don't you kind of pick up with your story a little bit? How did you get into music?
How did I get into music? All right. Well, let's make it really fast so it doesn't have to waste anybody's time. So at about 11, 12 years old, I was released from the government system, of which they would call basically released by the state, because I was an incorrigible runaway and an incorrigible, I was just incorrigible because I kept running away. In all,
Would have run away if I were you too, Tommy.
I was actually an abused teenager. So I ran away to Hollywood, and I decided that I was just going to make it no matter what. And I ran away to Hollywood, and I met these girls. I said, I'm a bass player. I want to be in a band. I wasn't any of those things. I was just trying to struggle to survive, to get away from a very uncomfortable and dangerous situation at home in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I was a ward of the state. And when you're a ward of the state and you're a child of the age of 12 or 13, basically you either get out and fight for your life or you stay stuck and you're dead for the rest of it. So I decided, well, I'm just going to go and I'm going to be a rock and roll star. And I told my mother that day, I remember, I said, I'm going to buy you a house one day. I'm going to be a rock and roll star. And she said, you'll be dead or on a couch before you ever make it. Now, my mother was a country western singer. Mm-hmm. That's when she said it to me. And do you know now she lives in the house that I bought her from being on the road, playing awesome music. And she lives in that house today and thanks me every day. She lives 2 blocks away from James Brown and I's house. And my son here, she helped to raise. And hey, man, and Beth-Ami has been with me ever since the beginning. Beth-Ami has never stopped believing in me. And I've not always been the most wonderful friend, you know. I've had to struggle to survive. You know, I've had to steal at times to stay alive. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, I've been through addiction. I've been through everything. And I am proud to say that I am a clean and I'm happy to be a part of Beth-Ami's life. Yeah. The girl who I started this with.
All right. John, how's it going, John?
I know who that is.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's all good.
So Johnny Capesta of the legendary Test.
Hi, Johnny.
Our dogs had a play date.
I'm the best.
So he's not a robber. He looks kind of like dangerous.
Well, we're hardly.
I know, we're socially distancing, or we should be.
Hello.
Well, yeah. James, come say hello to Johnny.
James,
my son, James Jr., is a guitar player.
Oh, hey, James.
My son, James, he loves Johnny. So say hello.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
You doing?
He's a really good guitar player, and he really respects you. Anyway, so let's move on.
This is in England?
Well, she's in England. He's in San Pedro, and he's in San Francisco.
Oh, right on. Spread it around, yo. Spread the love.
Spread the love.
Do you want one?
Yes. I was going to ask you. Yeah, definitely. You kidding me? I'm out of booze. I got to go get some.
All right. So Tomi-Rae, so how did you get into James's band and meet James?
Okay, well, here's the deal. I was doing in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was doing Janis Joplin in Legends in Concert. So I was doing 3 shows a night, and I was doing 36 songs a night of Janis Joplin. And then a girl who was mysteriously, I knew from the 80s, she was married to Carlos Cavazo from Quiet Riot.
Yep.
Now, her name was Candace Cavazo. Now, she called me up one day and said, I want to thank you. Believe it, I swear I die as I sit here where I am. I was at dinner with Kevin DeBro, and she called me, and Kevin's like, oh my God, what does Candace want? And so he was quite pissy. So I said, well, she wants me to come and audition to be a background singer for James Brown. And Kevin DeBro got pissed off. He was like, I want to sing for James Brown. But it was absolutely, I swear, if I'm lying, I'm dying. And I said, well, Kevin, because I had dated Kevin since the 80s. And I said, listen, will you be too mad? I've got to go to the Hilton and I've got to bring all my best outfits to meet James Brown and sing for him. So he said, fine, go. I'm just pissed because I want to be his background singer. And that's the last until another time in which I saw him. But so I left immediately, went to my house. I grabbed all of my best outfits. I got to the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas, and he said, tell me your best outfits. I pulled them out. He said, it's nothing. That ain't nothing. I mean, he was literally, James Brown was really like, you know, and that's literally what he was saying to me. And I was like, okay, so I guess none of my outfits are working here. So the next day he bought me about $40,000 worth of clothes in the in Hilton downstairs. That night I spent all night learning all of the background material to his songs, and we played the Masonic San Francisco Temple the very next day, in which he had me on stage in new outfits, singing and doing the parts. And from then on, I never left his side. I never left his side. I had been his fan since I was a child. I remember Hardly Dangerous gigs, me going to the Whiskey to do gigs and being like, oh, what are you listening to? Who's that bitch? I'm like, that's not a bitch. That's James Brown, bitch. And they just didn't even get it. I'm like, no, this him. And my friend said, who from school, and I swear to you, she said, that's the ugliest black man I've ever seen in my life. And I said, how dare you? How dare you, Elena? By the way, this girl was in the wedding party where Beth-Ami was my maid of honor. And so she said, I said, how dare you? She said, would you marry him? I said, yes. She said, would you have his baby? I said, hell yes. And you know, a year later, I met James Brown. His seed is looking at me right now, and he's even taller than I am. So all I'm saying is don't put it in the universe if you don't want it to happen, because God knows it will.
Yeah, that's say it and you make it, right?
Hey man, all I'm saying is believe it, and it's real. It's true. It's for you. All you got to do is be doing it for the right reasons. That's all.
So Tomi-Rae, are you right now? You have a band in London?
I do, called the Tomi-Rae Brown Band. We're getting ready to drop our album. It's amazing. I'm really proud of it. We're doing kind of on the sneaky sly side. We've got a single we're dropping, but I'm doing this it's called Damn Gina. So I'm going to be Gina on the desolate streets of London, and I'm hoping I don't get in a lot of trouble. But we're going to release a single and the album, and we're going to do it all before anybody gets out of COVID.
COVID-19.
Well, whatever, you know,
coronavirus, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we it's very.
So you guys are going to release instead of holding
release it. No, we're going to release it. I think that right now is the most, and I'll tell you. And this is coming from somebody who is ahead of a corporation in which music is very important into survival. And I'm telling you that right now they're at home, they're listening to music, they're watching videos. If you have music, if you have to release anything, release it now. Now's the time. Because right now we have no choice but to listen, even if we don't like it.
Yeah, it's kind of an unprecedented time.
So then release your music. Who's not making money? Who's not making money are people that already have music that is published, music that is being in movie, in film, on radio. Release the music. This is the only time in which our faces don't fucking matter. Let's release the music.
It's my buddy Andy.
That's a good point, Mike.
Well, we've talked to a lot of bands on the show so far, and it is interesting. Some just aren't going to release it because they want a tour behind it, and it's more of a financial thing. Like nobody wants to. They fear if they release it now and can't tour behind it, the record will just not earn.
Yeah, and I understand that. I get that that response. I understand that. But at the same time, if you don't release something, it's almost like half of one and six of one and half a dozen of the other. Do you know? I mean, at least they're hearing it. At least they know you're working for it, and people are thriving for it. They're starving for it. And music is the only thing that's gonna save us all. That is it. It's always been it. Music is what is going to save everyone.
Do you have a plan for getting the word out about the record when you can't?
We do what you're doing.
Way?
Yes, we do what you're doing. We do what you're doing. We do what Beth-Ami and I do. What you're doing, Tempesta. I mean, we really have got to just let it out. We've got to continue to create music, and we've got to do it before people start realizing that they can do it too.
Yeah,
I know it's out.
Yeah, everyone's figuring it out now. Everyone's a rock star in their own mind, right?
Absolutely. But while you have music that is going to create a positive energy, that's going to lift people up, you need to bring that back. I'll tell you one thing. It'll take me just a moment. When I asked James why he changed the 1 and 2 to the 1 and 3 to the 2 and 4, and what he said to me was, he said that everybody on the 2 and 4, they're tiptoeing through the tulips, and then he said, but on the 1 and 3, we've got to get the earth back on its axis. We're not on the same level anymore because we're working music like prayer. It's coming at a different distance. Too much. It's overflowing. So you've got to get back on the 1 and 3. You've got to get back on the 2 and 4. You've got to get back on the prayer and of the good thoughts. And music has got to be where we survive.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all want to benefit society with the fruits of our creative labors, of course, but I think that there is still a lot of fear. Are we? I mean, it's just been weird because the bands and the movie companies that are waiting until October or September to put stuff out. There's going to be a huge glut there. That we just discussed with Beth-Ami earlier about touring. Who's going to get to tour the venues when they open them up? The A-level bands are probably going to get their pick of the dates, and everybody else is going to have to fight out for the rest of them.
And do you know everybody else? Do you know how many hundreds of thousands and millions of people those are? Of course you do. So, I mean, why should that matter? When does music become what everything else dictates for us to release it for the reason of? No, music is for people.
I think that you're right. I agree with you that this is a good time to release because everyone's kind of just sitting at home looking for something to listen to and find inspiration from, so. And
the last thing that your fans, he hears me. He hears me. There's my microphone. He hears me. But Johnny Tempesta, let me tell you, the very last thing your fans want to hear is that you're releasing a record because your record companies think it's the right time. Our fans need us now more than ever to be there for them and no one else.
I think that we need to make one last-ditch effort to make the world realize that music does not have to be generated by a computer, and that humans are the creative ones, not the machines. Mm-hmm. And music could be the salvation right now when we're so isolated. We're literally kept apart from each other. Now is the time to come together, even if through the use of technology, whatever it is. But now is the time to make the switch where everybody's auto-tuned and you know what I mean?
Like, if auto-tune, oh my God, make me kill myself now. Oh my God, this is the time for artists who have never had an opportunity, never had a chance to make it.
Put it in the pan, let's make the best of it. You know what I mean? Like,
let's do it. Yep.
Well,
So
Beth-Ami
look-
and I
Go ahead.
are about to release new music that Beth-Ami and I are working on. And because we've been in a band together for over 25 years, Beth-Ami and I are now working on music right now that we're about to release as soon as we get it sorted out. That, I mean, it's so important that we allow new artists. This is an opportunity for everybody to become one in music.
The
Which is
earth
what
has
it's about.
told us that what we've been doing isn't good enough, and we need to make changes. And in my
Who
opinion,
said
like the music,
good enough?
you know,
I'm sorry, Bethany. What was that statement? Sorry.
what's that?
What was that statement? We couldn't hear you. The compression.
Planet,
Yeah.
and the planet is now telling us you need to make changes. What we've done in the past isn't working. Now is an opportunity for everybody to get in touch with, to get grounded, to become who we were meant to be, not these plastic Kardashian type, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
voices.
So
Music could get real again if we all take this opportunity to make that happen.
come on.
Well, do you think that with the studios shut down right now and certain artists not having access to auto tune and perfection? Well, of course, you know, if you have a home studio, you've got that stuff too.
You do whatever you want.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think that the public is going to be
More
more?
tips. Absolutely.
We're looking for something real. We need something to hold on to that's close to God. I mean, so I don't want to get fruity or whatever, but we're having near-death experiences. Nobody knows who will be next. It could be anyone.
Whether it be God or anyone, Beth-Ami understands what I understand, and that is that young artists, musicians, we're
Expound
writers.
important.
Right.
Make music that matters. You know, say what you feel. Say what you mean.
That's
Mean what
right.
you say. And
But don't you think that, you know, if you're a rock musician, you know you've always been able to be authentic and do that? It's the market share that shifted, like, you know, One Direction and all the, you know, finely tuned bands. I mean, they've kind of taken over the pop side, but no one has stopped us from making authentic music.
Sure, but guess what? Only now they're listening. People are listening to something
Now
from
you know-
other
do what you did
areas.
before because you can't physically get near anybody. Now's the time to create something that's different, that works differently.
Well, no,
Right now, we're talking through that technology right now. I think everybody should start to create something that's different, that is more meaningful.
I think
I'm tired of hearing bullshit. I'm so tired of hearing the same formulaic BS on the radio. Or
Long gone are the A&R people. Long gone are the production teams that take half of your points and percentages to get you in the studio and do something you've already created and then put their stamp on it when you did all the hard work. So right now,
do something different. We need to, you know, we can rise from the ashes of COVID-19 and create something.
and be real.
I agree. I think I was listening to Steve Lukather's book yesterday right before the interview. Yeah, and
Great book. Amazing.
Yeah, it was a great book. And one of the things that he said in the book is he said, you know, there's going to be a time when a computer figures out how to make music without the humans.
Yeah,
it's already here.
It's already happening. Yeah, it's already happening. But with AI, I mean, they have sampling, but now with AI, it's starting to be able to figure out how to put it together.
Okay, listen, we are AI, okay? In 1986, I was AI. I used to get paid $1,000 for an hour to show up at some record company guy's house to be that AI. And you know what? I'm not willing to do that anymore. I'm not willing to play games to sell my music. I am not willing for people like Beth-Ami and myself and females who write really good music, who work really hard to work at their craft, like Tempesta, to give it away for free. If we're going to give it away for free, then let's teach people how to do it for free. Let's really change the world with it.
You know what? Now's the time to make a change because we've been dealt a hand that we have no say in what cards we just got dealt.
No.
We have to accept on what we've been given.
But if we know how to play poker well, then we know how to play cards.
Oh, right there.
This one?
The diamond-shaped handle.
Well,
Right.
All right. Well, we're getting kind of at the top of the hour here,
I
and
need to talk about me
The
some
top of the
more.
hour.
well, we
right.
we will. Beth-Ami,
What must I do? I want to ask you, Mr. Tempesta. What shall I do to make everybody get like a bigger shot of the hour?
What's going on?
Oh, it's
Hey,
you!
hey, John.
That's the one.
Can you hear us? Okay, John.
I can,
You're
yeah.
right.
Can you see
Yeah.
me?
So, hey, real quick, give the quick musical journey of John Tempesta real quick. Surprise interview.
Oh, there you go. That's how it all started. I heard the interview when I woke up one day. I started as a drum tech actually for Anthrax, and that led me into my two first bands, which was Exodus, who first opened for Anthrax, then Testament, and then after I got the White Zombie gig. And from White Zombie, I went to Rob Zombie, and then after Rob stopped doing that, and music, he wanted to concentrate on movies, and then went into Helmet. Played with Helmet for a couple years, and the Cult 14 years now. So it's actually the longest band I've ever been in.
Awesome.
I'm proud of myself with the Cult, especially too.
You look really good, by the way.
Yeah.
You look really sexy.
Isn't he cute? Isn't he cute as a button?
Yeah.
What's up?
I'm not going to comment on that.
I can't see anything. I'm blind as a bat. Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there I am.
There you are, Beth-Ami. Your boobies are so beautiful. Your hair is so lovely.
All right. So, Beth-Ami, why don't you?
You're the shit.
So you joined Graham. Go back to your story a little bit. So you joined a band with Graham, and how long were you guys playing together?
Graham and I have played together for 7 years between the Graham Bonnet Band and Alcatraz. We rebranded to Alcatraz thinking that would get more interest. But that was sort of the downfall for me. I was out of there after that. I had a sublime experience with Graham. I have to tell you, amazing. Musically, I mean,
I gotta roll.
Okay.
Nice to meet you all.
Yep. See you, John.
Great day. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Yeah,
See you
take
next
care,
time I'm in LA. Bye, John.
I love it. Okay. Anyway, I had an amazing experience. Playing with Graham was sublime. He is such a driving force musically for me. He encouraged me in ways I didn't think possible. Tommy and Graham were the two that believed in me more than anybody, and I love them forever for it. I really do. Playing with the Graham Bonnet and building that brand itself, we did 3 studio albums and a bunch of live DVDs. Incredible. Everything's on iTunes, Spotify, whatever. Please come check us out.
I saw Beth-Ami play with the Graham Bonnet Band and with Alcatraz many times throughout London. I even went throughout different venues throughout London in different cities and states. I don't know if they call it that in Europe, but either way, I certainly was in different areas watching Beth-Ami play. And for me, being the band that started with Beth-Ami and her being my best sister, to see her up with Graham Bonnet, who I had been a fan of for many years. Oh man, she was just slaying it, just killing it. I mean, I'm telling you, she was the hottest thing on that stage, and it was a mistake and will always be the biggest mistake they've ever made. And that's just my personal opinion.
No mistake, Tommy. Remember, it was me that. Okay, I left the band recently. I had to. I have elderly parents, and I've been commuting between Los Angeles and Northern California because I've been helping care for them. And I would do that. I could be in the Rolling Stones, and I would do that. My parents are.
Which during this time is probably a little bit tricky.
I can't go now. Now it's been. I was sequestered with them at the start of all of this, actually. But I also have children. I had to come home. I had to be with my boy. And
that had nothing to do with the fact that every time you showed up, Beth-Ami, you showed up and you killed it. You slayed the crowd. You never missed a beat. You looked amazing on stage. So there was no reason at all whatsoever, as far as I'm concerned, that you aren't still in that band.
I'm not in that band because I've chosen to walk away from it because I needed to be with my family. Tommy's a little upset because the guys in my band they didn't want a girl in the band. Not Graham, the other guys. They really didn't want a female in the band, and they did everything they could to make me uncomfortable to get me out of the band.
I don't know, but when you Zig Heiled and Hi Hitler, my bass player, and I see it at a gig, I'm not into it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Not going to slam the girls, the guys in my band.
Exactly.
It is a problem, though, because I was the editor of Guitar Player magazine for 20 plus years. I actually interviewed Mike Tempesta for Power Man. He actually did a nice thing for us. We did
Love him.
We did a kids magazine called Rumble, and he helped us with that, which was awesome.
No doubt.
A kids magazine for like hard rock kids, but it is a problem because obviously there's that female thing. I can't believe it's 2020. It still goes on today.
You don't even know. You don't even know what I had to deal with, but it's okay.
Still a thing, but it's all right. Beth-Ami handled it like a lady. Myself,
I left on my terms when I was ready to, even though they twisted the screw for like a year. It's all
and
good.
believe me, I had to ask Beth-Ami what she wanted because I was prepared to knuckle sandwich a couple people. I really was.
I think you would. I believe you.
To me, I had to deal with physical coming, and I'm not a very big girl. I don't know if you could see that. I'm not very big.
Well, I'll tell you what, she can carry her own weight.
I kickboxed off and on for 5 years. I threw a kick past somebody's face.
Well, how does it affect you as a creative musician if you're in a band with men that kind of don't want you in the band? I mean, I'm sure you can deal with the sexism and all that, but as a player, to realize that you might not be respected at the same level as a male bass player might be, how does that affect your performance?
Well, thank you for asking that question. The only person in the band whose respect I needed was, and I had that. However, Graham didn't stand up for me when he should have, and I don't want to slam Graham because I love him. I love him dearly, but he didn't have my back when I really needed him to, because when you're, doing 21 dates in 24 days, no days off, you know what I mean? And every minute, every chance they get to come at you, after a while, like, they started to turn me into a man, Like, I started saying,
Beth-Ami picked this band up, and she will never tell you this. Beth-Ami, I watched her pick this band up from the absolute ashes, and she brought them as like a phoenix to rise. She brought them back by paying for the tour, by paying for everything, by accepting.
I funded the first couple of tours.
She funded everything. She got all paid back.
We can't hear you, Beth-Ami. We can't hear you.
Oh, wait.
Me?
You're saying, you funded.
Yeah, Tommy's actually knocking you off the box there.
I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Be good,
Tommy.
You go. Be good.
You go, Beth. I'll be good.
Okay.
When we're yours, Beth. Together,
I'm pissed.
As we had spoken off camera earlier, I'm a little more savvy technologically than Graham was. So we put the band together. I was tour coordinator, I was manager, I was tour manager, I did everything. Then I had met this sort of fanboy. I'm sorry to say it like that, but our current manager he was a fan backstage at a show that I became friendly with. And I invited him to come out on tour with us. Graham didn't want him to come. And I said, you just trust me on this. So he came along, and I would have breakfast with him. And he's a very intelligent man. He's a smart guy. And he was more in touch with what the touring world was like in modern times, as opposed to Graham, who was still living in 1980. I love you, Graham. I'm sorry, but that's true. So I said to Graham, my guitar player and I were talking about it. I said, what if we asked him to manage us? Because I didn't want to do it anymore. And he said, he's pretty savvy. I think it's a good idea. And so we invited him to, I talked to Graham about it, who said no, but then of course I overrode him, as I often did. And I asked him to manage us. And I gave this guy a freaking, career on a silver platter. So that's why I'm a little angry, because it didn't end
well. Basically, he's a Nazi.
He's a little bit racist, and I'm Jewish, and he doesn't like black people. It was a little uncomfortable at times.
But he loves his hookers.
Don't
I'm
we
sorry.
all?
I don't. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm all for anybody getting their gratification wherever they need, but do not disrespect my best friend and my sister because you have nothing more intelligent to say than the fact that you owe her thousands of dollars.
It does mean nothing.
In the first place.
I've never done this for the money. I'm one person who's financially secure enough to just do this and not need anything. You know what I mean? I've got a setup that allows me to do this. So it was never for the money. Initially, when I met Graham and I sort of just grew to love him as my friend, he was my best friend. And I'm hoping one day we'll be able to find our way back from that. He was, I wanted it, as I learned about his history and I got to know his catalog, I wanted to put him back where I thought he belonged, which was in the public eye, in the public ear. I wanted the world to know that this man is an amazing musician, an amazing songwriter. No one can sing like this guy still at age 72. This
Oh yeah,
He's amazing.
he can belt it still.
I agree.
Like
I
just like back in the Deep Purple days. Like he's got the pipes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
he's amazing. I agree.
that has always been my goal. It's never been about me. I've loved the experience I've had. I've loved being, as I call it, fame adjacent. I've loved that. But it was never about me. I got what I needed out of this 3 years ago. So walking away wasn't that hard once it wasn't pleasant anymore. But also my parents needed me. My kids missed me. I needed to stop doing this.
Sure.
It was the best thing, Beth-Ami. It was the best thing. But
We're hearing
don't
that.
you ever forget, Beth-Ami, that on tour, on the road, where I saw you many times in Europe, times that you don't even realize that you were the shining star in that group. You had brought it up. You and Graham Bonnet were the only thing, I'm sorry, worth seeing. And I'm sorry, but Beth-Ami, you were used.
I don't care. I got what I needed. I don't care. I don't care. None of that matters. Whatever their agenda was, I don't care because I got what I came for. Unfortunately, I've walked away and I don't feel like I put Graham back as high as he should be, but I'm going to kick the little bird out of the nest.
Well, you should at least be thanked. That's all I'm saying.
You definitely brought some fun to the performance. Like I noticed you smile a lot. You have
fun.
You know, the charisma and everything. Like not that Graham doesn't have a lot of charisma, but I'm just saying. Yeah.
Graham loved having me there. We were a team. It was the manager who would say, "Don't kiss him on stage. Stop looking at him."
And don't forget the Heil Hitler the minute that she was moving her equipment. Sorry, Beth-Ami.
I held my own.
That was wrong.
I held my own musically. The guy that's replacing me is the original bass player, Gary, who's a lovely person. I do not have a disparaging word to say about him. I really like Gary.
They're all great players, Beth-Ami.
Gary and I, it was a trade across the board. He's not better than I am. I'm not better than he is. We're very similar in what we bring to the party. I love Gary.
This has nothing to do with talent, but everything to do with respect. And when people are telling you Heil Hitler while you're moving your equipment out of the back door of the Troubadour or of the Camden where I'm seeing you play and Heil Hitlering you, I'm sorry, that's not cool.
That bothered me. You know, I lost family during the war in the camps, and so that does bother me. I'm not going to lie, and I tried to laugh it off. I finally did cry and tell him, "Look, you got to stop doing that. That's not cool."
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah,
that's all I wanted to say. Sorry.
Especially now, these days, it's like no one gets away with saying crap like that, and no one should ever be
doing that to her, though. But they were doing that to her.
The manager thought he was trying to be funny. It's just not funny.
It's not funny. It never was funny.
Yeah.
It was never funny.
No, I'm very proudly Jewish, and we had a little tiff. Actually, we had a couple tiffs. This guy weighs 200 pounds more than I do too. We had a couple of because I don't have the flight mechanism. I got the fight mechanism. We went toe to toe a couple times, and it got a little kooky, And, I told him later, like, dude, that's not cool. You can't do that. You can't. Okay, don't treat me like that. I don't deserve it. But wait. One of those fights, he said to me, because I always call myself a 2-bit hack. I'm very self-deprecating musically. And he called me that. I go, yeah, but I'm the too big hack that hired you.
Yeah, I'm the too big hat that's paying the bills. But Beth-Ami, let me tell you that every time you came to London and I got to be with you, and I was like limited to a couple of moments in which I was allowed to be with my sister, who I started Hardly Dangerous with when I was 15 years old, when I was allowed only to spend a few minutes with you. I was just appalled. I was appalled because you are such a great musician, and for them to make you feel that you were anything less, they're lying to you. You're a great musician.
Graham always made me feel like I was the shit.
Well, he better. You were paying his rent.
You know, he shushed me.
Well, let's do an around the horn here, because we're getting up to the hour.
All right, sorry.
And I'm sure this. No. I think you're just being genuine.
Okay, I'm very genuine.
Yes, I can tell. So I think you know, all of this, you know, I think the music business. One thing that I'm learning, and I'm just entering the music business at age 49. I'm not trying to make money. Actually, Beth-Ami and I were talking yesterday, and I was like, I'm not disillusioned that's making music is a great way to make money. There's a lot of easier ways to make money than with music. I think.
Yeah, you think?
You know, yeah. And so it's, as far as the music industry is concerned, I'm not disillusioned that I'm going to be a wealthy person from playing music, but I am trying to learn business and things to kind of bring money so that I can go create my art and share it with people, which is really all that any musician really wants to do. But I think both of your stories are, you know, you guys have been through quite a bit in your lives, and you know, good and bad. But here you are today. You're survivors. We're all here together in the COVID-19 crisis.
Yeah. Fun.
And you know, we're gonna make it through this and go out and make some music out in the real world. But for now, you know, release your music and play it.
God bless everybody. I love you, Beth-Ami. Thank you for making me be a part of this. Thank you for having me be a part of this. I love your guitars on the wall. I'm checking them out. I'm looking at them like, they're fucking awesome. I could totally write a few songs on those guitars with you. So thank you so much for making me and having me be a part of this. Beth-Ami, your boobs have never looked better.
And
I love you so much. Thank you so much for having me be here. And everybody really take it seriously, because here in Europe, it's a serious thing. Really do wear gloves, do wear the mask, do wash your hands. It is so important. I know it seems like it's not, but it is very important. Thank you for having me. I love you, Beth-Ami.
I love you more.
I love you, Homo.
Any last words?
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was a blast. I love it. It gave me an excuse to day drink. That was awesome.
You know what time it is here. My son keeps walking back and forth with the phone. Like, James, come on.
Yeah, it's late there in London.
James Brown the second. Just come here. Come to the camera view.
Look at that handsome young man.
They can't see you. Come here. They can't see you.
Look at him. Isn't he beautiful?
Say hi.
Smart, freaking talented. Love that kid.
He says, my mom's having an emotional breakdown. Don't worry about it.
So, Mike,
I want to say my thank yous. Matt, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be on your program. It was
our pleasure. Thank you for coming and telling your story.
Poetic stuff you don't want to hear. Michael, it was so good meeting you. Thank you for having me. I hope to see you guys again.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Well, your parents are up here in Santa Rosa, so you can wave to me on the way up to them next time.
I was going every 2 weeks or so. Once this is over, let's meet up for a drink.
Yeah, we can all go down to the military base and go to the San Pedro Fish Market in LA sometime. I'll get Michael to drive down.
Oh, hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
I'll tell them. They love you, Tom.
I know. I love him so much. I love you, Beth.
I love you too, you Miss Sissy. I miss you. I was supposed to be in London up until 2 days ago. I was supposed to be with Tommy, and I had to cancel my flight because of the.
She was literally on her way here. She would have been stuck with me.
I know.
Oh, we
Well,
would have been having a lot of fun.
So in the midst of this crisis, one of the things that I've noticed from both your stories is that you've lived through a lot. It's difficult being females in the music business. You've gone through a lot. So this is probably, I mean, I'm not going to say it's nothing because this is a horrific thing that happened to the world, but I think that it's been good for other musicians, other male musicians too, to once again realize that, as a sex, we still make it tough on female musicians, whether they're coming up or established. And, we should, if we get anything out of this between spending more time with our families or spending more time with our loved ones, even if it's virtually, can we just cut the crap and let everybody be rated by their creativity and just shut up about everything else? Yeah. So that's my final word.
I think that your final word is the most awesome final word I've heard in a long time.
Well, I echo it.
I hope it's not my final word. I don't want to be dead from this thing tomorrow. So it's not my final word. It's my ending the episode word.
Let's be the final word.
Yeah. No, I don't want it to be the final word. You're freaking me out.
Well, we got to let Mike go wash his hands.
Smorgasbord.
Good.
Smorgasbord is the final word. I love it.
I'm gonna wash my hands right now. Thanks, Matt.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in, Kingdom of Rock. And
I'm out, everybody. Nice to meet everybody.
Yep, nice to meet everybody, and we'll chat with you guys later. Maybe we'll have lunch sometime soon.
I'd love to. We're right down the road anytime. You tell me.
Yeah.
All right, cool. See ya.
Yeah.